On September 1st, 2020, PopCap announced that BFN will receive its last update at the end of September. It was somewhat hidden under an otherwise cheerful-sounding blog post on their official website that says, "As the leaves start to change, September's Fall Festival will be our last festival and our final game and gameplay update will be at the end of the month. Each month we'll be bringing back our previous festival, complete with price map. Every festival price map that you are able to complete will have your progress saved, so you can continue right where you left off that month." And as soon as the news spread, people reacted to it in various ways. Some were disappointed and saddened by this and demanded PopCap to resume the game's development. Some were completely indifferent about it, and then there's people who are actually happy about the game's discontinuation. To be honest, I was initially surprised by this announcement. I really thought it would continue to support the game's development for longer than this, given that they've been working on so many iconic contents during the last few months, but I was wrong. It shouldn't come as a surprise though, considering how the game was quite a commercial failure and they've consistently failed to attract more people to buy it. I was about to make a video about whether or not BFN is worth it a year later, right on the 4th of September. Spoiler alert, no it's not. But then I heard this news which made me cancel these plans, and pretty much gave me a definite no to that question. Unfortunately, the game's just buggy and broken, and they're really slow when it comes to fixing things. Basically, it's highly likely that the game flopped because it didn't sell very well, and they're likely to run out of resources because of this. Let's talk about the things that might have led them to cancel the game. The following section contains a lot of speculations, which may or may not turn out to be true. Unfortunately, PopCap has been very silent about the game's discontinuation, likely due to the NDAs and all that nonsense, so a lot of guesswork had to be taken. There are some telltale signs of them being financially screwed that goes all the way back to April, so let's start from April. During that month, they discounted BFN's price for 75% off, which was odd because the game was still quite recent at the time, released only 7 months before, and it's very uncommon for a recent title to drop in price so dramatically like this. They were likely aware that the game wasn't selling very well and tried to attract people to buy the game by putting such high discounts. Next is the CU999 folder found in the May update. This is actually some sort of code for developers, which means that they don't know when or if this content will come out, but just work on it anyway. They're actually already aware that the game might actually be cancelled long before September, which means that they're already quite low on resources at this point. This folder contains both finished and unfinished items such as the Citron Legendary Upgrade, the Fisher Legendary Upgrade, the Fortress Knight Acorn Skin, various Cactus colors, Fisher's Partner Set, unfinished action hero customization such as 3D glasses accessory and wrestler footwear, unfinished all-star customization such as badminton and tennis balls accessories, thruster thumper soldier set, as well as a gameplay toolbox folder, which was likely intended for testing or debugging, which contains bowling ball primary weapon and triple burst recharge primary weapon. In June, they changed the Lost and Fun event scheme at the last minute, so instead of giving you up to 800 rainbow stars by logging in at least twice every week, it gave you a random amount of stars instead, which makes sense from an economical perspective as most people would receive a fewer amount of stars, which means less money lost from this giveaway. This could be perceived as them trying to conserve as much resources as possible in a desperate attempt to continue supporting the game. In the July update, there's very little development on the upcoming content. There's a lack of progress on the Iceberg Lettuce, new legendary upgrades, Naval Laser and Turbo Twister Builder Works, all of which are upcoming contents from the May update, and there's very few customizations that were added in the July update as well. This is despite the ample amount of time they had to finish some of the more important stuff like the Iceberg Lettuce, which is around 2 months. And then there's the key developers such as Sean Laker and Justin Wiebe, who left PopCap Vancouver and joined other EA studios. Sean Laker was the live service producer and moved to Respawn Entertainment, according to a tweet he posted. This could explain why the price map will rotate after September, as he was in charge of the live service contents, which includes price maps and character challenges, and with him out of the picture, they might not be able to determine the direction for future live service contents. Wiebe was the creative director for the game, but moved to an undisclosed EA studio and is working on a new project. He also announced this on Twitter. Because he was the creative director, this means that anything related to the game's artistic design, such as characters, costumes, maps, and festival designs for Giddy Park, won't be able to be further developed until a new creative director joins the team in place of him. Coincidentally, they both moved studios in July. Could this have been a sign that the studio is failing? Because it's possible they were moved to other studios because either EA or PopCap knew what was coming next. In August, they dropped the game's price for the second time by 70%. Again, as the game's still quite recent, it's quite unusual that they dropped the price massively like that. Last but not least, Wildflower and TVhead. Both of them appear to be their last attempt at making new playable characters in such a short amount of time before the game's discontinued, as they're easy to make and also very bare bones in terms of functionality. They don't support customizations, implying that they ran out of resources and were no longer able to make any new customizations, and their weapons, abilities, and upgrades are pretty much identical. They likely know that they couldn't release the Ice Reckless in time, so they had to compensate by doing this. Next, let's check out some of the things they did wrong during the game's lifetime, and possible reasons why the game flopped. The game likely didn't sell very well, not just because of the problems with the game, but because of its poor marketing as well. No advertisements on the internet besides from the well-known PvZ YouTubers. No teasers for the upcoming content to build up people's hype and encourage them to play the game, which leads us to the lack of players. According to SteamDB, over the course of the game's availability on Steam, the all-time peak player count for this game is only at a meager 886 players, and the current amount of players is way less than that. The game only became more popular when it was first launched back in June and when it was on sale in August, and even then the player count will start to dwindle down afterwards. This is very bleak compared to older titles such as Payday 2, Borderlands 2, or Skyrim. Even Counter-Strike Source has more players than this game, despite being a 16-year-old game now. The fact that they had to decrease the XP requirement to get a price bulb from 5000 to 4000 XP, as well as increasing the amount of bulb gained from completing daily challenges, just shows that the game really likes players, and this is their attempt at trying to attract people into playing it. However, the lack of announcements means that people didn't really notice it until someone pointed it out to them. Next is the lack of communication. There are no live streams after the whole COVID situation, when they could have either made non-live videos or Twitch streams with Zoom calls or something similar. Developers' total absence of communication with the players, even in the official Discord server. All forms of interaction with an official PopCap employee is only done through the EA Community Manager, which is far less effective than directly communicating with developers themselves. This results in two contributing factors: not listening to the players and constantly wrong decision making. Not listening to the players include cluelessly changing the balancing, for example, buffing Rodocube when it's clearly unnecessary, refusing to revert a buff in the next update despite many people demanding them to do so, and instead only marginally nerfing it, which did nothing to fix this broken ability. Nerfing Imp Blasters when the only thing that's broken about the Imp is the mech, and not reverting this decision in the next update, but instead only increased the rate of fire by a slight amount, which wasn't enough to revert the DPS to its previous state. Adding a homing lock on time to the cadet's primary weapon, so it takes a second for it to be able to home towards enemies, which was a bad decision they have yet to revert, as losing your target means that the homing was set and it's next to impossible to get a consistent homing because of this. Cadet's DPS is already low anyway, on par with the Rose, and yet Rose actually still has instant homing time, so nerfing your primary weapon's saving grace means that the whole weapon's pretty much useless now. Not adding drop-off. This is a feature that's been requested by many players for a long time, and yet they keep refusing to add it for no clear reason. Damage drop-off could have solved issues with the game balancing where people can snipe other players from very long distance without much difficulties, even when using a character that wasn't intended for sniping. This is a feature in both God of War 1 and 2, and datamine information suggests that this existed during the development of the game but was scrapped in the final release for some reason. Robo Laser and Sunbeam, the last weapons to have proper damage fall-off, have its fall-off removed in an update where they buff the weapon's damage. They also just outright lied sometimes, such as constantly claiming that they added dragon in the game when it's clearly not the case, or when they claim to have fixed two-headed dragon and wizard's gestures when it was still broken and a proper fix only came out 4 months after bugs were first reported. Constant wrong decisions include bad balancing, such as badly designed maps that heavily skew the balancing towards one team, such as Prince of Pastures or Logi Echoes, which irritate most players and discourage them from playing the game. Prioritizing to fix exploits that benefit the player, for example, XP or prize bulb farm, than actual bugs that harm the gameplay experience, such as Red Dragon performance issues or bugs that have persisted for a long time, such as Rapid Recop not speeding up reload if they're dying and respawning, or Sprint Tackle not working when activated right after the cooldown ends, or even fixing the game balancing itself. It's probably because these types of exploits kill their player engagement and could upset their shareholders, because the main reason why prize maps exist is to boost their player engagement by forcing them to play longer just to get enough bulbs to finish it, and using these exploits means that a player could finish this in a much shorter amount of time. It's basically part of the whole live service scheme. focusing too much on rocks content, proved to no quality of life updates, and terrible quality control, such as how they managed to put rocks and reward thrown items in the prize map. It doesn't help that they also screwed up casual Battle Arena when they reverted Battle Arena from ranked to casual, which forced them to pull it from the list of multiplayer modes and don't have it fixed until the next few weeks. So what will happen to the game after its end of support? Well, there will be no more content updates, only balancing updates and bug fixes will be rolled out afterwards. The Turtle board will also be closed at the end of the month. Basically, the game will become stale very quickly due to the lack of content updates, and expect player count to dwindle down further after a while. There will be a lot of upcoming contents that are scrapped because of this. For example, the upcoming characters such as the Iceberg Lettuce, Super Bean, and Bear Brigade, they won't make it into the final cut, even Ader has confirmed this. It's just a shame considering how Iceberg Lettuce is almost finished, and in terms of development, Bear Brigade was mothballed back in March, but this pretty much confirms it won't be developed any further, and Super Bean is part of the July update, and it seems like they were trying to squeeze in this character to compensate for the fact that they wouldn't be able to continue Iceberg's development, but alas, this was also cancelled, likely because they didn't have enough time to finish it. There's also upcoming legendary upgrades that are scrapped because of this, for example, the Pea Shooter, Snapdragon, Acorn, Oak Soldier, and M upgrades, all of which have been covered in NM's videos. Apparently I actually made those clips, but NM was the one who uploaded it, so yeah, you can check out the video really in the description. There's also the Bubbling Around upgrade, which was accidentally leaked by PopCap in January but was never actually released, Ops Phase 3, and possibly some new customizations such as the Robin Hood 80 skin, or the Zomquin skin, or the Medusa Sunflower skin. However, this is not confirmed yet, so for the costumes, we'll see at the end of the month whether or not they manage to finish this costume somehow. Shortly after the announcement, a rumor about PopCap Vancouver emerging with Motive Vancouver spread out among the Garden Warfare community. This is due to the fact that on the Motive Vancouver page, they stated that developed Garden Warfare 1, 2, and BFN, and that they're working on the IP. However, this turns out to be false, as Motive is actually just one of the contributing studios that developed the Shooter games and is listed in the Shooter games credits since launch, which was long before they discontinued the game. It's likely that PopCap just decided to stop the development of this game simply because they are financially screwed, or they found out that continuing support for this game is not a good idea due to its mixed reception and the game's commercial failure. Is there any hope for BFN? Unfortunately, it's quite unlikely to be the case. The game isn't doing well, and knowing EA's history of killing off games and studios when they're no longer profitable, this is gonna be another one of those titles that will receive absolutely no further support in the future. The game suffered the same fate as Battlefield 5, where they discontinued the game abruptly because it was also a commercial failure, just like BFN, and it won't receive any more content updates. We can only hope that PopCap decides to learn from their mistakes and create a new prestigious shooter title that fixes everything wrong with BFN and can win back the hearts of its fans. But given that they're very likely to be out of resources at this point, we can't expect too much out of them for now. Only time will tell. Given that my channel mainly revolves around Plants vs Zombies, the game's discontinuation does actually impact me, as there will be very little topics about BFN that I can cover onwards. I was lucky enough to get PvZ 3 since it's pre-alpha back in July last year, but I'm not interested in enough mobile titles, so the best I could do is to cover up other titles when I run out of PFN contents to discuss. I'll still play the game occasionally, but for now, there's not much new things I can do in this game anymore. The only two things I need to do are to finish the final character challenge and get to the max rank, which is now at 2071, because I've never missed a single prize map or character challenge during the game's entirety of support, and I finished all the PvE regions long ago. That's it for today. Let me know what you think about this whole BFN being cancelled situation in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all next time. I'll have to get a new mic. This built-in laptop mic really sucks. Gosh.